Hello, everyone. My name is Noor Al-Bastaki, and I am your moderator for today. I'm very excited to welcome you to our third Etisalat Digital webinar series. Today's webinar is all about cloud and how could you empower your remote workers and accelerate your cloud adoption. The future of work today is not about where you are, but how you quickly move. Today, we will discuss about how cloud usage is surging as more employees are working remotely and how companies are reevaluating their daily operations, leveraging on cloud to support them to streamline remote working and enabling them to go back to some level of normalcy. During our webinar today, you will gain insights on what are the different tools and technologies that you can use to enable remote working, how you can accelerate your cloud adoption while streamlining costs, and how you can leverage on the cloud for disaster recovery scenarios. Most importantly, and almost finally, how you can also imagine your security strategy within the new ways of working. Joining me today are two experts from Etisalat. Let me introduce our first speaker, Arwais Ahmed. Arwais Ahmed is a senior cloud solutions architect at Etisalat Digital. He has been working on Microsoft Azure and Office 365 since 2010. My second speaker joining me today is Ammar Hassayan. He is a senior manager of digital architecture, also from the Cloud Business Solution Unit at Etisalat Digital. He has over 15 years of experience in cloud computing and cybersecurity. Just a heads up, if you are watching us from LinkedIn or from YouTube, please let us know your questions as we will be having a separate Q&A session right at the end. Arwais and Ammar, over to you.
Thanks a lot, Nora, for the introduction. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Etisalat Digital webinar series. My name is Wes Ahmed. I work as a senior cloud solutions architect here at Etisalat Digital. Today, we look at how COVID-19 is accelerating cloud adoption and enabling innovative remote working scenarios. COVID-19 has had a lot of challenges, both on a professional and personal level, right? So businesses especially are struggling with a lot of different challenges, and we'll look at how we can address those challenges and how Etisalat Digital and Cloud can enable innovative remote working and accelerate your cloud adoption. Next slide, please. So we'll look at some of these challenges today. We have discussed with a lot of different CXOs across the region to understand what are the different challenges they have been facing in the last few months, right? And how we can go ahead and address those challenges, right? So today, we look at some of these challenges. Firstly, whenever we talk to anybody, whether it be small businesses or medium-scale enterprises, or even some of the largest enterprises in this country or over the world, the first thing on anybody's mind is the cost factor, right? So we're looking at a severe economic impact all over the world. We're looking at for enterprises having very decreased revenues, so they're losing their customers. There is little cash flow happening in these enterprises, so this leads to severe budget constraints, right? So now a lot of CFOs are looking at reevaluating their budgets and understanding and prioritizing how to spend for the next 2 years, right? So this naturally translates to these CXOs exploring innovative solutions, not just on how to go ahead and optimize their business processes and how to optimize their spending for the next few years. They are also looking at to go ahead and understand what are the different old scale business models they had, and go ahead and look at how they can innovate and change these business models and adapt to the new normal, right? So we're looking at to see how cloud and Etisalat Digital can help in go ahead and understanding the current landscape which the customers are having, and how where we can move forward from here. So the cost factor is a very crucial element. We look at soon where CXOs think the priorities lie in the next couple of years. We look at some of these solutions and see how we can mitigate some of these challenges. The other thing which definitely comes to everybody's mind is the change in the way we work, which has drastically changed in the last few months, right? For most of us, work means going to office, right? We get up in the morning, go to office, and then come back, right? But this has drastically changed in the last few months. Organizations are looking at remote working scenarios for a long term. Lot of the big enterprises over the world, like Microsoft, Google, Facebook, a lot of the big tech companies and a lot of other businesses are foreseeing permanent work from home scenarios at least till mid 2021 or end of 2021 even, right? So this poses a unique challenge to both IT teams, security teams, as well as as from a management perspective itself, because a lot of these teams are used to having most of their workforce. Sometimes a lot of them might have some minimal workforce outside office, but most of the time they are used to having their workforce permanently inside their offices, especially for IT teams and security teams. They're used to have, making sure their IT tools, applications, and services are available locally within their organizations. So that's where all the focus has been for the last, forever, right? Now, just in the last few months, the whole way of operating for IT teams and business teams, security teams, and management has changed to focus on remote working scenarios. So we look at some of the unique challenges which remote working throws up for everybody. We look at how cloud can go ahead and help address some of those challenges, right? So those are some of the key things which has happened over the last few months. Now customers are looking at where do we go from here? How do we recover from here, right? Especially in UAE, we see things are somewhat coming back to normal, right? There is a sense of, okay, things are becoming better and normal. So now businesses want to rebound faster. They want to capture their lost market. They want to go ahead and get back their lost revenues. So now they want a platform and some sort of flexibility which helps them to rapidly prototype and test new business ideas and new solutions without going ahead and investing heavily in upfront capital investment. So they want some kind of flexibility to test and prototype new business solutions without much investment, right? So we'll see where, based on our discussions and also on different online surveys, we'll look at to see where are businesses focusing their IT spending, right, over the next few years, right? So when we look at the next slide, we look at, I know, based on the different surveys and statistics, we have looked at to see how CXOs are focusing their IT budgets and spendings, right? So generally, when you're talking about where do I spend my IT budget, the first thing which all our respondents are talking about is web conferencing and collaboration tools, right? So I think everybody has seen how the adoption of Microsoft Teams and Zoom, even on your personal lives and professional lives, have rapidly accelerated in the last 3 months, right? So definitely that's where a lot of enterprises are focusing on, to make sure that remote users have a seamless experience, to make sure that you can have that personal effect. When you come to office, you have a face-to-face interaction which might be missing, and it's very important and crucial for mental health. That's where video conferencing tools help us to make sure everybody gives you some level of feeling of working together in the same team, sitting in the same room. And then that's where the collaboration tools also help us in that factor, right? And also, as we discussed earlier, IT teams are now focusing on how do I provide access to my applications in a secure way. That's where remote desktop again is a very key focus area for a lot of customers, right? And definitely, I know my colleague Amar will talk about cybersecurity later on, and we'll see how, once we have on one side cloud solutions, we need to make sure that all these cloud solutions are secure and there's no data leakage, and and from a security perspective, it's very paramount, right? And underlying to all that, cloud solutions power up all these solutions. So definitely, all these solutions fall under as a cloud paradigm. So apart from that, we'll also look at some of the innovative ways cloud solutions can help accelerate digital transformation in large enterprises, right? So we looked at some of the challenges and spend focus for the next 2 years. And the next slide, we'll look at how does cloud actually help. We're talking about how cloud is accelerating digital transformation. So where does cloud actually help businesses, right? So again, coming back to the key question of cost, right? So businesses now are hesitant to spend a lot of money as a capital investment, right? Especially, recently I had a customer right? We were discussing, before the COVID situation, a data center refresh scenario. The customer at that point in time had a lot of budget. They were ready to invest in expensive hardware, but just in the matter of few months, right, the whole paradigm shifted, and now their IT budget priorities also shifted. They no longer want to invest in expensive hardware. I think that's where cloud came in as a no-brainer for them, because there's no upfront investment needed, and you can go ahead and do a consumption-based model. So cloud becomes an utility. You pay as you go. You go ahead and deploy the resources based on your requirement, and once if there is no requirement, you scale back down the resources. That translates to one of the most important features of cloud, which is elasticity and scalability. Imagine if you are in part of the tourism sector and the hospitality sector in UAE, which was severely impacted, unfortunately, right? So if you are, leverage cloud services, you can scale back down your services to a minimal level and save your cost. And once business starts booming back again, you can rapidly scale out to meet that business demand. So there is no capital investment required, and you get a pure scalable consumption-based billing model, right? And one of the key questions which customers ask us, okay, fine, I like cloud, but my IT teams, right, are still used to managing legacy infrastructure. If I want to move to the cloud today, I don't have the skill set to move to the cloud. That's where managed infrastructure services comes into play, and Etisalat's managed services can take care of helping you migrating to the cloud, as well as managing that infrastructure so that you can focus on innovative business solutions. So again, that's where cloud focuses on, helps you rapidly prototype this solution, and we'll see later on as well how, I know, if you want to go ahead and rapidly go to market, right, go ahead and bounce back from this situation, cloud is the perfect way to kickstart your environment. And then finally, disaster recovery. We are living in terms of a seemingly disaster situation, right? So if you are stuck, if you don't have personnel on site, imagine if your data center is facing a downtime, and due to a lockdown situation, your employees cannot go and fix the issue. I think having a low cost disaster solution will goes a long way to ensure that you can rapidly fail over to the cloud and recover in the minimal time possible. So these are some of the ways which we see cloud accelerating your digital transformation, and in terms accelerating the cloud adoption itself. Now quickly we'll look at some of the key offerings from Etisalat. So first we look at Microsoft Teams, right? If you go on the next slide, we look at the Microsoft Teams option. Again, uh, um, so from a Microsoft Teams perspective, I think most of you would be aware of Microsoft Teams. So definitely Microsoft Teams helps you to go ahead and have a seamless video conferencing, experience, right? So which gives you that personal touch, but also helps you to go ahead and have a seamless collaboration with your different team members. Doesn't matter where they are in the world and which device they are using, right? So especially for example, let's say if you're part of the legal team and you're working on a complex legal document, right? And you need multiple people sitting at their respective homes to go ahead and edit the document. Teams brings you powerful co-authoring and collaboration features, which helps you seamlessly go ahead and work together as a team. That's where the name Teams comes from, right? So it helps you go ahead and manage and go ahead and work together as a team. Doesn't matter whether you're working from office or working from home, as well as on any device. So it gives you that kind of seamless collaboration experience, and Etisalat Digital can help you go ahead and adopt Teams across your enterprises, because we itself as Etisalat, we adopted Teams just before the COVID-19 impact started. So we have good experience internally rolling out Teams for large enterprises, and we can help you try the same. On the same hand, if you move to the next slide, we look at how VDI is also again a very hot topic, right? So we are seeing, conversations around VDI everywhere, especially in this market. For the last few months, the discussions around VDI have skyrocketed. But generally, from a historic perspective, whenever customers talk about VDI, always the upfront complex investments was always a barrier to go ahead and adopting VDI solutions. A lot of VDI projects fail historically because of that huge upfront investments which are required. But the new cloud-based VDI solutions like Azure Windows Virtual Desktop, or even the from an Etisalat perspective, we offer both flavors like Azure as well as VMware-based VDI solutions. We give you a seamless zero cost zero infrastructure solutions, to be honest, right? Zero infrastructure solutions where you don't have to have any kind of upfront investment required, and then you can get started almost in a day, right? We have done a lot of proof of concepts and projects in the last few months where we have been able to bring up a BDI environment in just a matter of a day. Imagine for a small scale environment, even for a large environment, if you want to quickly get started to give access to your remote desktops and remote applications, we can help you get started in a managed service manner. So you don't have to worry about complex deployments, complex solutions. Very simple solutions, easy to deploy, easy to use, easy to manage, as well as accessible from anywhere and any device, whether using a Windows machine, an Android, or an iOS tablet, or even in a Linux machine, or just a browser. You have the flexibility to go ahead and access your business critical applications in a secure way. Amar will talk about how the security gets enforced on this later on as well. So you get security as well as a pure remote desktop solution in an easy to use, easy to deploy, in a easy to manage cloud-based manner, right? So again, Etisalat can help you, go ahead and get started, whether it's on Microsoft or whether you prefer some kind of a VMware flavor as well. So we are there to help you out today. So please feel free to reach out to your account managers, right? So moving on to the next slide, one of the key things as we discussed earlier is disaster recovery, right? So in terms of these kind of uncertain situations and uncertain times, we need to have that confidence and peace of mind that in case if there is a disaster situation in my data center, I can go ahead and fail over seamlessly with as minimal of a RTO, right? A recovery time objective, as we use the term in the industry, right? So we want to make sure that our business failovers with the minimal time possible, because imagine now everybody's focusing on to make sure that their businesses are stable, to recover from this economic impact. So nobody wants their business to be down in case of an IT or a hardware failure. Failures are unavoidable. So in case of a failure, we make sure that the Etisalat disaster recovery service, both on Azure and as well as our own Etisalat One Cloud platform, gives you a easy to use experience where we replicate your data center workloads seamlessly to our disaster recovery sites, to our cloud platforms, again with minimal upfront investments, right? So once you have done that, we give you automated ways to failover, to test your failover, so you have the full confidence that in case of a disaster situation, Etisalat will help you to go ahead and seamlessly recover your complete application environments within a matter of minutes, right? So that is something we are seeing a huge uptick in demand recently, to make sure that even small businesses and teams who previously were not able to think of a DR solution because of high upfront investments, now are able, because of cloud, now are able to think of adopting DR solutions or using DR as a service on cloud platforms, because there's literally no upfront. You don't have to construct a DR site. Cloud becomes your DR site, so you don't have to worry about investing in hardware. Let Etisalat help you design your DR solution with minimal upfront investments, easily replicate your applications and workloads to the cloud, and then fail over from there in case of a disaster situation. And finally, from an Etisalat perspective, one of the things which we look at, moving to the next slide, is the cloud adoption program. Okay, you might ask us, okay, fine, cloud is definitely the way to move forward, whether it's a full cloud migration or a hybrid cloud kind of a setup. How does Etisalat help me as an organization, right? So cloud is a journey. Cloud is not a one-time thing. Cloud is just not something you do it in a few days and then you take a back seat and let it happen, right? So cloud is an evolving journey, right? It doesn't get completed in a day. So you need a partner who can stay with you for the entire course of the journey, right? Because there might be a lot of different moving parts in a cloud solution. Example, one of the key components of a good cloud solution is connectivity, right? So Etisalat, is obviously, known for its, connectivity offering. So we have, different connectivity offerings to various cloud service providers like Azure, AWS, Oracle, even our Etisalat One Cloud. So we own that connectivity piece. We help you go ahead and do a complete end-to-end assessment and, put a proper migration plan and a migration roadmap for your services. We have, in case of any security requirements, Amar, again, we'll talk about more on the security piece, but we have Help AG, right? You had a previous webinar where Help AG, we discussed all our cybersecurity offerings, where we can go ahead and focus on providing the firewalls and the licenses and all the security components, additional security components which are required for a complete cloud solution. And most importantly, a lot of times we see when we talk to customers, we think we hear from customers that they went to cloud to save cost, but they ended up doing the opposite. So one of the most important aspects which we do after the migration to the cloud, to help you do a constant cloud cost optimization as part of our managed services. So we ensure that there is frequent cost optimization exercises which are done. So every quarter or every 6 months, we look at your cloud environments and we make sure that you are using the cloud environments in the right way, and we help you stay in control of the cost so that you don't get any surprises. And a lot of times customers tell us there are surprise costs or there are hidden costs on cloud which they were not aware of it before, right? So we help you stay in control, go ahead and make sure that all the new solutions and the new services which clouds are bringing in are adopted properly so that you don't get any surprises at the end. So this is a unique framework which we have developed as part of the Etisalat Cloud Adoption Program. So make sure we can stay you as a good cloud partner all the way as part of your cloud journey. And to wrap up, all right, as we move to the next slide, I just want to, talk about, we mentioned that different focus areas for different CXOs. Cybersecurity is definitely a key focus area for all the organizations. My colleague Amar will now take over and walk you through how the different cybersecurity offerings, the cloud security offerings from Etisalat Digital will help you stay in control of your cloud environments, as well as enable you to unlock remote working scenarios and still stay secure. Thank you everyone for listening to this, this cloud adoption session from my end. Stay safe, and we'll connect back towards the end of the session for the Q&A. Thank you.
Thank you, Wise, for your great session about the cloud and the cloud adoption. So, if you didn't rethink about your cybersecurity strategy for now, then this session is definitely for you. Hi, everyone. My name is Ammar Hassan from Etisalat Digital Business Cloud Solution Team. And today we are going to talk about securing the new normal. I'm going to challenge the new normal from security perspective and then walk you through the security challenges we are hearing from our customers. We want to think outside of the box, outside of the norm, because it's the new normal. And then I want to help you to address those security challenges. Finally, I will introduce how Etisalat Digital can help you secure the new normal with our remote working security framework. Let's move to the next slide and start our session. So as Weiss explained in his session, we are seeing a change in the spend that organizations are doing. In fact, in a recent study and on the forever remote working front, we are seeing that 74% of organizations are expecting new challenges in the second wave of COVID-19. And for that, they are doing technology changes and security changes to be prepared for a second shutdown. So here you can see that COVID-19 is impacting and accelerating cloud adoption. Weiss mentioned a couple of them. From security perspective, we are seeing that web conferencing and collaboration tools are moving to SaaS applications, so things like Office 365, Microsoft Teams, and Zoom, and those are new areas that require security attention. And we are also seeing a huge adoption with the remote desktop and VDI for a reason. Most organizations does not provide employees with laptops, so they are left with people connecting from their home devices or home laptops or from their tablet. And this is a security challenge by itself. So one of the security workarounds that we are seeing customers are moving is why not to provide a new desktop experience to customers from the data center itself or from the cloud itself. And why talk about a Windows desktop and Windows VDI solution in Azure? And this is a perfect security solution because now remote workers can connect to a virtual desktop in the cloud. The corporate data is in the cloud, so nothing is exposed to employees' laptops. And it's secured with Azure Active Directory and multi-factor authentication. So we are seeing that there is a huge expansion and adoption of remote desktop and VDI solutions. Now, OIS also talk about the huge adoption for cloud solutions, DR solution, cloud adoption, but also as organizations are increasing the spend in cloud solution, we are seeing that the spend is also increasing in cybersecurity because CISOs and security professionals understand that they have obligation to secure the new normal and all these new SaaS application and collaboration tools that get introduced with COVID-19. So let's move to the next slide and understand the new security challenges that organizations and customers are facing. Let's start with this. In April 2020, the global working from home becomes established as the new normal. And this is because millions of employees around the world were working from home. And this was enforced, of course, for the COVID-19 situation. As security professionals, we understand that working modes are changing and so do risks. In fact, as we are seeing, and after interviewing a lot of CISOs from different industries and organizations, CISOs describe that the outbreak of COVID-19 is one of the most challenging periods in their careers, if not the most challenging period in this career. Now, let's look at this from security perspective. The security challenges first were logistical and tactical. So, for example, all organizations need to ramp up the remote access technology. So you're seeing customers need to connect thousands or thousands of employees through their VPN access technologies. So they are purchasing more licenses for VPN or expanding their VPN solution. And also IT need to work 24/7 to provide laptops and hardware peripherals like multi-factor authentication tokens. While, for example, you are seeing firms, law firms and financial institutions have challenges for printing and scanning. But as we are moving from the response phase of the crisis to the recovery phase of the crisis, we are seeing in Etisalat that the security challenges are moving to be more strategic. That is, CISOs are asked, how can I change or reshape my security and cybersecurity strategy while the whole organization has been abandoned? Everyone is working remotely. So things are changing and the risks are changing. Let's move to the next slide and try to slice these problems one by one. First of all, remote working technology are introducing new risks. We are seeing in Etisalat that organizations are divided between using Zoom or Microsoft Teams for web and video conferencing. Now, as security professionals, managing incident response and patching remotely for those collaboration tools is a challenge by itself. Moreover, not all cybersecurity problems are technical in nature. We are seeing, and I believe most of you know that more than 60,000 COVID-19 related phishing attempts every day. And cyber criminals are very smart. They are impersonating well-established organizations such as the CDC and the Department of Health to get into mailboxes. So users are tricked to open that phishing email to see the latest about COVID-19 and if they are going back to home or not. This is a very, very targeted cyber criminal phishing attacks that happening now. And we are seeing security professionals and CISOs working with HR and organizations to send emails to all users, educating them about these phishing attempts. So we advise all our customers to do the same and watch for those phishing attacks that are trying to take advantage of COVID-19 situation. Wise did a great job in explaining how the cloud is booming and how everyone is considering the cloud for the cost and flexibility, innovation, and for moving from CapEx to OPEX model. But as security professionals, we understand that there is big responsibilities on us to make sure that this cloud journey is secure and we are complying with whatever compliance requirements we have. And that we need to establish governance in the cloud. So our role as security is the same, but the nature of risks are different. And this is why we need to rethink about our security strategy in the new norm. Let's move to the new slide and let me share with you how Etisalat can help you secure the new normal. So in the next slide, as we can see, Etisalat Digital have a framework for remote working, and this framework for remote working is, we call it the Pentagon framework. Let's see if the slide comes. Okay. Etisalat Digital have a framework called Secure Remote Work Framework. We call it the Pentagon framework. And we address 5 things that we believe every CISO should look at. First of all, we address the collaboration, then the identity, then the devices, then the security, then the adoption and change management. Think about it like this. I'm the security information officer in my company. The first thing I need to answer is I need to define a collaboration tool, work with the IT team to define collaboration tools for my employees to use. People need to connect and need to collaborate even from home. If I just become in denial phase, employees will go with shadow IT. They will pick up their Visa cards, their credit cards, swipe it, and shop for collaboration tool. So in order to prevent people from going and shopping for collaboration tools and to prevent this shadow IT, we need to have an approved list of collaboration tools. Microsoft 365, for example, can be one of these tools. Approving these tools and making sure that you configure them in a secure way is the first thing in your responsibility as a CISO. This is the collaboration part. Second part is identity. And I want you to pause for a minute and give it a well thought. You as a security professional, as a CISO, you need to rethink about your identity strategy if you didn't do so far by now. And the reason why you need to rethink about your identity strategy is because your company is most likely using a lot of SaaS applications. Deploy a very big part of the solution. Our recommendation is in Etisalat is to use Azure Active Directory as an identity provider that can give you single sign-on across all SaaS applications. This is the identity part. The third part is the devices. Do you have bring your own device policy or not? Are your users using Android devices, Mac devices, and managed devices to connect to your corporate data? So we encourage CISOs and security professionals to define a devices strategy and bring your own device strategy for the organization in the new normal. Fourth is security. This is the normal security measures that you need to have. How can you do remote patching while everyone is connecting remotely? How can you manage new devices that need to be joined to the domain? Your domain controllers are now hosted inside your offices, and you cannot publish domain controllers. So there is a new way of thinking about joining devices to the domain. We call it Azure Active Directory Hybrid Domain Join or Azure Active Directory Domain Join. You can now join your Windows devices to Azure Active Directory directly. And this is where a new way of managing devices and identity surface. And finally, the fifth part of our framework is adoption and change management. You cannot deny that the weakest link for any security strategy is the human being, people. We need a security professional to educate people how and when to use the tools and how to act in the new normal. These are the approved tools. These are phishing attacks that we have. These are the ways to reset your password securely. This is how you do multi-factor authentication. Without proper change management as security professional, people will fail to follow our recommendations. This is Etisalat Pentagon Remote Working Framework. We have for each one of these pillars solutions, guidance, and even assessment to make sure that your organization complies with a secure remote working environment. In the next slide, I want to zoom in and talk about Microsoft 365 security. We understand that most organizations are using Microsoft 365. So we have established a framework to secure Microsoft 365 for our customers. And we took feedback from our customers. We have customers coming back to us and ask us how we can secure Microsoft 365. We are using OneDrive, we are using SharePoint. Microsoft Teams is now the heart of the teamwork. So how we can make sure that we did our due diligence in securing them? So our answer is simple. We have in Etisalat people who can assess your Microsoft 365 security. And we do it in a simple and logical manner. We have users who log into devices and accessing apps to see and consume data. So our security strategy and controls are mapped to users, devices, apps, and data. In the user's perspective, the first thing that we recommend is to enable multi-factor authentication. Whether you have on-premises solution for MFA or you are using Azure Active Directory multi-factor authentication. The second thing that we recommend at the user or identity side is to take advantage of Azure Active Directory conditional access. This is where you can do this business rule. I want only managed and compliant devices to access my Office 365 data. To do this business rule, you need to have a new identity business rules that acts as a firewall. We call it identity-driven security. Since Azure Active Directory is the identity and access management solution for Office 365, you can force Azure Active Directory to check the compliance of mobile devices before giving a security token. This is Azure Active Directory conditional access. You can do crazy things with Azure Active Directory conditional access. Imagine this scenario. Someone from your company received a compromised phishing COVID-19 email. He clicks the link, credential gets stolen, the attacker is in China, he's now trying to open OneDrive and download all the sensitive data. With Azure Conditional Access, you can implement risk-based rules. One of them is impossible travel. So Azure Active Directory will see that the authentication comes from Dubai, the user is accessing Office 365 from Dubai, and then after 1 hour, the attacker is accessing the same account, the same credentials from China. So Azure Active Directory understands that it's impossible for the guy in Dubai to fly to China in 1 hour, and it will block the second authentication attempts from China. This is how you can dynamically secure access to Office 365. And there is a lot more to the story here. In the devices, we recommend users and customers to implement endpoint detect and response technologies like Microsoft Intune for device management or Microsoft Defender ATP as a comprehensive EDR solution. We know that people are now shopping for devices and they have devices with Windows 10. Microsoft Defender ATP is built in Windows 10. There is no need for you to manage and deploy endpoint protection solutions with Microsoft Defender ATP. Let's move to apps and look at Office 365 ATP. One of the hottest discussions that we have with customers with COVID-19, the first thing that we advise customers, if you have Microsoft 365, just make sure that you subscribe to Office 365 ATP, Advanced Threat Protection. With multi-factor authentication and Office 365 ATP, 99% of attacks coming from emails can be mitigated. So Office 365 ATP can help you detect zero-day attacks and phishing attacks coming from emails, and also protecting documents on SharePoint and Teams. For data, which is the fourth pillar, we have data loss prevention and information protection. That is encrypting data using built-in capability in Microsoft 365. Altogether, capabilities, users, devices, app, and data, and security controls across those layers is what we in Etisalat can help you define and deploy. In the next slide, I want to highlight quick things that we in Etisalat also provide. So Etisalat Digital has also a secure cloud security framework. You want to move to the cloud? Wise explain the benefits. We have a team of dedicated security engineers who can work with you on defining the security part of that journey, a GRC control, how to comply with different compliance requirements. And this is a service that we provide to help our customer move with confidence to the cloud. We also advise customer if they don't have a SIEM solution or they don't extend their SIEM solution to the cloud, to try and use Azure Sentinel, a scalable cloud-native SIEM solution and source solution in the cloud. We also offer, as Wise said, managed services in Azure, and our managed services help customers to operate a secure and highly scalable environment to prevent zero downtimes and make sure that your services are available. Remember, security is about confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So availability is a very big part of the story. We also have HelpAG as one of the security arms in Etisalat. So if you have, for example, Palo Alto devices that you want to deploy in Azure in a highly available solution, we have the expertise with HelpAG to help you deploy highly available network security devices. Remember that in cloud, you don't have a broadcast or multicast domains. Configuring high availability for those hardware appliances is tricky. You cannot just import the same procedures. You need to understand how the cloud virtual networking works. And this is where we project our expertise and help you deploy highly available security solution in the cloud. We in Etisalat Digital provide expertise and guidance to help you secure Microsoft 365 and secure your Microsoft Azure deployment. We also have the huge expertise and we have assessments and POCs for Azure Security Center and Azure Sentinel. For that, I have ended my session for today. I want to thank you all for attending this session. Stay safe and we can move to the Q&A.
Thank you very much, Awais and Ahmed, for that insightful session. Now, moving on to the Q&A, we've received many questions from our audience, and among them is, and this question goes to you, Awais, is how can Etisalat help in estimating the costs for moving to the cloud?
Okay, that's an interesting question, right? So, when I talk on my session when I went to the slide, I presented something called as the Etisalat Cloud Adoption Program, or the ECAP, right? That's our cornerstone strategy for driving cloud adoption. And one of the key pillars of the ECAP program is something called as assessments, right? So for most customers who want to start their journey to the cloud, they want to have a clear picture of what to expect from a commercial perspective when moving to the cloud, right? So this assessment involves our consultants and experts who have had more than 10 years of experience purely in driving cloud migrations, going ahead and understanding the strategy from a business as well as from an IT perspective from customers, understanding their current infrastructure, their current applications, and going ahead and designing a proper cloud roadmap. Because cloud migration can mean different things for different people, right? So our assessment program helps to identify what is the right approach for moving to the cloud, whether it be a software as a service or infrastructure as a service, and helps you to identify the overall total cost of ownership so that customers get a full visibility on what are the current costs as well as what will be the cost when they migrate to the cloud. So our teams can help you to do the end-to-end assessments, help you do a comprehensive report so that your business teams can take the right decisions for moving to the cloud. Thank you.
Clear. I have a question coming from Monica. Monica is asking, how can I use my existing licenses in Azure VDI?
Okay, that's great. That's a very interesting question again. I briefly touched upon Azure VDI, right? One of the innovative solutions as Etisalat, along with our partnership with Microsoft, we are driving in the region. So, Azure VDI has one of the key reasons why we see a rapid adoption in Azure VDI across in this region as well as all over the world is because Microsoft is enabling a bring your own license scenario. So if a customer has already made the investments in M365, Windows 10 E3, and already has Windows 10 licenses as part of their enterprise agreement with software assurance, they have full freedom and flexibility to bring their licenses, so they don't have to purchase or invest in licenses again. So that's a huge cost saving. So you can start with zero cost, zero infrastructure cost, no licensing cost, bring your own existing licenses and get started today. That's one of the key USPs of the Azure VDI solution.
Interesting. Awais, you've mentioned in your presentation disaster recovery. How does Etisalat provide a managed service for DR?
Okay, good question again. So, we talked about disaster recovery and how it's very crucial in these times to have a proper DR strategy, right? So, one of the key things, historically was disaster recovery solutions were always in the domain of large enterprises because they have the skill set and the large IT teams to go ahead and ensure that in case of a disaster situations, they can successfully and seamlessly fail over the cloud. But for a lot of these small organizations, this was not possible because they did not have the skill set and the teams to help them in case of a disaster situation. That's where I think the Etisalat's managed services comes into the picture because our disaster recovery as a service offering is an end-to-end service. We help you implement the solution, and once the initial solution is implemented, we help you to conduct maybe quarterly or biannual, test failovers and DR drills. So we ensure that the DR is working, right? So that we don't get any surprises when an actual disaster happens,
That's
right?
very important. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, right? So we make sure that all that is properly planned and governed and monitored. And then in case of a disaster situation, nobody knows when the disaster might happen during the night or, during the weekend, but rest assured our 24/7 managed services team are there to help you out. So in case of a disaster, we help you to, and handle you to go ahead and seamlessly fail over to the cloud with the minimum RTO possible. Thank you.
Definitely. Thank you. Thank you, Airways. Regarding security, we have some also questions related to security, and among them, and this goes to you, Ammar, is how can I secure my on-premise applications with the Etisalat Cloud solutions?
How to protect on premises? Yeah, of course, we
Security.
have customers saying that the cloud is good, we are moving in the cloud, but we are not yet there, right?
Yes.
It's a journey, and they're exploring their options. Perhaps, for example, they have old mainframes or legacy applications that they are wanting to explore more options on moving them. The bottom line that not all organizations are completely in the cloud. So for that, we advise our customers to use some capabilities in the cloud to secure even on-premises applications. So there are two parts of this. First of all, Azure Security Center can provide security for on-premises servers by deploying a small agent. This agent, monitoring agent, can be installed on premises on servers and can assess the security posture and connect to the Azure Security Center in the cloud. This is a huge benefit for on-premises customers. Azure Security Center not only can protect the security posture for servers in Azure, but also on premises and in other clouds. So this is how we think about on-premises and multi-cloud strategy. The second thing that we have a customer came back to us and he's saying that I have Exchange on premises, right? Still, his mailboxes are on premises. So what we can do, we can use Azure Active Directory application proxy, and it's a small server that you deploy in premises, and you can publish the Exchange or on-premises mail system using that application proxy. What happens is that with that application proxy will authenticate using Azure Active Directory and then allow access to on-premises application. The benefit of doing that is that we can use the multi-factor authentication in Azure, the Azure conditional access, all the auditing and the good thing that the cloud has to offer is now extended to on-premises application, and the bottom line that customers can support remote workers with such innovative solution that we are advising customers to.
Interesting. And what about the security assessments? Does Etisalat do security assessments on Microsoft Cloud services?
Yes, in fact, I was talking to Waze. We had a recent two customers who came in two different requirements. One of the customers is asking us to assess their Microsoft 365 security. So we have security experts who can engage with the customers, and the foundation that we are using is Microsoft Secure Score. It's a score of the security posture of Microsoft 365. So our security experts will sit with the customers, understand if they have any compliance requirement. They will help them explain the security controls that need to be taken, and then advise on remediation steps. The other customer is, in fact, a banking institute, and this banking institute is migrating to the cloud. They have data center exit strategy, and they are coming to us and asking us as Etisalat, can you help us in the GRC functionality in that journey? So we go there, we make sure that they have a reference cloud architecture, security domains are clearly identified, everything complies with their, PCI requirement. They might have SOC, NIST, or SOC baseline that they want to implement. So we make sure that this gap, the security gap, is covered with our professional and consultancy services. Thank you.
Sure. You've also mentioned the CM solution. As a customer, how can I get started with the CM solution without, with minimum investment?
The same solution. Yes. So I mentioned in the slides Azure Sentinel. We are seeing a huge trend in adopting SaaS applications, even in security as a service, security as a SaaS. So we think that security now is changing. You cannot onboard security to the cloud. It's difficult. So for example, we are seeing 3 schools. One of them are having a very well-defined SIEM infrastructure on premises. They are using SIEM on premises. And they are now seeing the explosion in the cloud. People are using Teams, things are in Azure, things are going out of their control. And they are challenged how they can collect information from those cloud resources, right? For that, we advise them, one of the easiest way to quickly go there is to implement Azure Sentinel, because Azure Sentinel also already have these cloud connectors with Microsoft 365 in Azure. In seconds, you can connect to Azure, and Microsoft 365 cloud app security, and more, Azure ATP and more. And you get all this information there. And then you can export that data to their, or integrate that data through connectors to their on-premises SIEM solution. The other school that we are seeing is that customer, they don't have SIEM. They are خلاص moving to the cloud. They have a cloud-first strategy. And for that, we advise them to start using Azure Sentinel from day one. Azure Sentinel, as I said, it's a SIEM and a SOAR solution. So SIEM, security, information and event management, and SOAR is security orchestration and automated response. And this works great for them. There is no upfront cost, no implementation cost. And for the COVID-19 situation, we think that Sentinel is a great thing here. And we in Etisalat provide workshops and POCs for customers to try the SIEM solution. The third part of the story, we are seeing isolated islands. People using their SIEM, on-premises SIEM to monitor their on-premises infrastructure, and Azure Sentinel to monitor the cloud infrastructure without any integration between the two. The three of them are valid, and we are helping customers on those three scenarios with Azure Sentinel.
Definitely. We have received actually one question from Mayank Kumar. He is from LinkedIn, and he's asking, and this question goes to you, Awais, is how do we tackle downtime during cloud transitions, and will there be any business support offered?
Okay. That's a very important question when you're talking about cloud migrations, right? So everybody wants to know, okay, if I want to go ahead and migrate to cloud, what's the expected downtime are we talking about, right? If I had, obviously depends on the environment, but customers need some sort of confidence to understand, right? If I want to transition to the cloud, what will happen in that transition period? Are my business or if my systems are going to be completely down? Is it like a switch of a failover? I inform my customers we're going to down for 3-4 days and then we come back online on cloud. Again, there's a lot of strategies there, right? As Etisalat, again, that's one of the crucial aspects of the Etisalat Cloud Adoption Program as part of the assessment phase. When we go into the migration phase, we do a comprehensive analysis of how the migration roadmap and runbooks look like, right? So when we go ahead and do a migration journey, we understand on a per application basis. We go ahead and look at each application, how this application will function on the cloud. We do comprehensive testing even before touching any of these production systems. We do a isolated test failover, right? So that we ensure that these applications and services that run successful in the cloud. Maybe we can invite some test users to test these systems. So we ensure that once it moves to the cloud, it happens in a seamless transition. So once we do all this testing, so again, depending on the applications and the strategy we adopt, there might be certain downtime or there might not be, depending upon the approach and the strategies we might take, depending upon the application. But rest assured that our migration teams will provide complete business support to our customers to make sure that your journey and transition to the cloud happens with the minimal downtime as much as possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Awais and Ammar. Unfortunately, we've reached the end of this webinar. Thank you everyone for joining us today. And just to let you know, in case we did not come back to you, you can always email us at etisalatdigital@etisalat.ae. We have more webinars coming up. Please join us next Wednesday, our next webinar on the key to business continuity. Stay tuned and make sure you follow us on our LinkedIn page. And that's all from our side. If there's anything that you'd like to say, Ammar and Awais?
Thank you very much. Stay safe, everyone. Reach out if you have any other questions, and have a nice one.
Thank you. Bye-bye.